Hey Flosstube, it's Lori of Mischievous Stitches. I'm back again today to carry on with my parade of whips. I've got about 3 more stacks of whips that I can go through that were in the tote. There may be 2 or 3 more, but we're going to try to get through them today. If I finish that today, I'd like to go through some of my patterns. I've got lots of patterns. I'll pull out some of the old things. If you're interested, just leave a comment below, and once again, if there's enough interest, I'll go through and show you some of my patterns, and I'll make sure I try to pull out some of the older things to kind of introduce you to things you may not have seen before. So today, I'm going to do another FFO. I did finish up the In Full Glory Blackbird design pillow yesterday, and I'll show it on my normal video on this coming Sunday. And today I pulled out this piece, and this is Queen Bee Pincushion by Heartstring Samplery. I finished that last month, and I took a paper mache box. Instead of putting it on the lid of the box, I'm going to nest the piece down into this part of the lid. Excuse me. I've already cut out a piece of mat board, and so I'm actually gonna. This is my drink. This is my addiction right here is Dr. Pepper. But I'm going to use the lid from that just to place into the center of this so that it will hold the cushion in place. So I'm going to use that, and then a gracious Flosstuber sent me some of their ball trim. The one I had was very bright happy color, and this one is a little more muted. And I didn't get her permission to use her name, but she knows who she is, and I want to thank you again for sending me this trim. I also have some rickrack, and I'm going to try to finish it as Beth twisted on the cover of the pattern for this piece. And I've already cut out the batting for it. I've got 3 layers that are the same size as the actual This is the mat board, and I have 3 large pieces that are the same size as the mat board cut out. And I put just a few extra pieces, 2 extra pieces in the center that were just extras, so that there's 2 of the large ones on the bottom, and I sandwiched the partial pieces in the center, and then 1 large one on the top, so that when I put the cushion on it and spread it around, it has a little more padding in the center than it does on the edges. So I'm going to do, like I said, finish that up later today, and I will share it with all of you on Sunday at my regular video. And also, my last regular video, I was talking and sharing a story about my father and about a frame that he had made, and the video cut off. And every night since, I have gotten questions about that particular story. So I'm going to share that with you today before we get started with the whip parade. So I'm going to start over for those that may not have seen it. But my dad was very outdoorsy. He was a crafter too. He did woodworking. He made cabinets. He made a cedar chest for me, curio cabinets. And he did it just like we do with cross stitch, because it brought him joy. He didn't do it, make those things to sell or anything like that. He did it for the love of the craft, just as we do with cross stitch. He had several canes. In fact, one of the canes that he walked with up to his death, he had made that one. He made Jordan's toy chest when she was born. He made a cradle for her. Just lots of different things I may share with you in the coming weeks, and because it helps just comfort me to talk about him. But this particular thing that I'm going to share with you today is one of the things in the last week and a half of his life, he had these hanging in his living room. One was mine, one was my sister's, and they were frames that he had made when I was a young girl, maybe 10, 11 years old. And he was very fond of going out in the woods and searching for arrowheads, which this area that I live in is known for its American Indian history. And you can find arrowheads if you know what area to look at. You can find them easily. So as a child, I can remember going out in the woods and walking with him and looking for arrowheads, picking blackberries, muscadines, that kind of thing. And on one of the weekends, my parents were divorced, and so I wasn't with him all the time. But one weekend, when I was to visit him, I went over, and he had a small bucket of chips, he called them, which is the chips as the American Indians would chip away to make an arrowhead. It is the pieces that are discarded from the rock when they do that. And so he had collected a bucket of them, and they were sitting beside his coffee table that day when I arrived with 2 frames. And he had gotten started making one so that he could show me what he was doing. So we used glue and those shards to make frames. This one is the one that he made. I ended up making 2, which I gifted to my mother, which she had my sister and my graduation pictures framed into it. And then these are the 2 that my father had made. And this is it. Now those 2 kids that you see in there is, I'm thinking maybe probably 19-year-old Lori and about a 21-year-old Clint. Don't you just love his paisley shirt? But this frame, of course, had my picture in it, and the other frame had my sister's picture in it. So she got her frame, and I got this one. And it's things like this. It's not the big things. It's not the cars. It's not monetary things when you lose someone that means something. It's things like this that is a frame that I have a memory associated to. It's not even the picture that's in the frame, because he chose that. It was that we made these together, and that he made this one, and he placed every tiny little shard and glued them in place to make this frame. Now I do have 2 framed cases of arrowheads that he had found, a few of them, and I had found as children, that he gave children as a child, hanging up in my stitch room, which you can't see them when I do the video, but I plan on hanging this up there as well. But I want to deframe it and clean it, get a toothbrush and clean it gently, because it's just gotten dusty. I want to clean it up, and then I'm going to hang it. So there's the rest of the story. Okay, whiffs. You ready? Are you ready? Melody, you had 22, now you have 23. And Cretia, let's see how many drinks you can drink today. Okay, this is a Heaven and Earth design. It's the only one I've ever started. It's for Jacob. I never finished it. Yes, he asked me to. Yes, when I started making videos, I actually, where's my outside picture? But I decided I wanted to make some progress on it, and I didn't. I did, but I didn't. But this is called Owen by Michelle Sayetta from Heaven and Earth Designs. And I started this some time ago. And I'm doing it 1 over 1 on 25 count. This is it. So I am just right here. I don't want it to be a whip forever, but it certainly has been a whip for a while. So there's that one, and it's in another, it's just in one of those mesh bags. This was a very minimal 2018 Mania start. This is The Sampler Company, A Sampler Story by Brenda Keys. I love this. This might go in my, I need to get this finished this year pile. I've not carded anything because this is the start I made. So just the top of one of the boxes. I love this piece. I know it will be fun because each little square has its own little theme. There's a barn, there's the ark, a house, a mermaid, a willow. I'd really like to finish this one. So I'm going to stick that into my, this year possibly, as a finished pile. And then this is a heirloom drawn thread sampler. This is a class piece at my local needlework shop. I really like drawn thread. Not to be confused by the designer of the drawn thread. Now this is actually drawn thread work. And I changed the color. This is my supplies. And I've made a decent start on it. Can you see through that? So you can see I've got the first 3 rows done and the 4th one is pulled. And this is what you do. You're removing those horizontal threads and you're weaving them back in. So you find where you need to be, snip the thread here, you unweave it, and then weave it back in on the edges. And you do that for, say you need 4 threads to perform that stitch. You're removing 4 of the horizontal threads and weaving them back in. And it looks like I've outlined all of the stitches, all the bands going down. Can you see that? Just to save myself some work. Yep, because they're all pulled. Not pulled, but wrapped. This one I know that I'll get back to at some point. Because like I said, I really do like drawn thread. I've taken hard anger classes. It's not for me, but the drawn thread is. And then I have the Elizabeth Lilly sampler. This is by Macintosh Samplers. I've had this for a long time. I bought this at the Spirit of Cross Stitch Festival in 1998. I think it was in Nashville. And this is in a Diana It Is Kismet bag. It is Kismet Stitches. And this was a Mania 2018 start as well. It's going to be enormous. It's on a, is it 28 or 32 count fabric? I think it's 32. I did work on it a bit, but I'm not crazy about those colors so far. I do know that it's small girls that stitch these things, and small girls love beautiful, vibrant, happy colors. But I'm not so sure. It doesn't ring true. Those colors do not come through in that. But this will be one that I probably finish in the next year or so. So I really love it. And there's no reason why I can't get it finished. Now Macintosh samplers, when this come out, I don't hear many people speak about them in their Flosstubes. I do know their website was still up last time I looked. I don't know if they aren't available anymore, but their website is still up. But like I said, I know I bought this in '98. So that's been a little while ago. What is this here? Another mesh bag. Oh, This is my very small start on And They Sinned. I would show you this piece of fabric that is doubled over, but one side, I bought this whole yard of fabric. One side I cut for And They Sinned. The other side is for Teresa Kitten Stitcher's pattern. Was it Paradise Lost? Is that right? The long band sampler that she just finished and took, had framed and took to market with her. So one half was And They Sinned and the other half is Teresa's. That is a definitely, I want to finish it one day. Actually, they're all I want to finish them one day. That's why I started them. Another mesh bag. This is Exemplar 2 by Catherine Theron. I took a class with our local needlework shop for this sampler several years ago. And this was my start. So I just had the border done. I love Catherine Theron's work. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful work. Specialty stitches. Beautiful piece. And then this is the pattern for And They Sinned. Alright, what else? Let me just shift this stack over here. This is a Lori bag. This is one of the first bags I made. Oh, this was a retreat piece. This is something I started last year at the Katrina Boyd retreat in April. So it was, she came to a city local to me and I went to the retreat. This is Silver Creek Sampler. It's The Lord is My Shepherd. Excuse me. And this was my start. I think it's beautiful. And Katrina was supposed to come back this month, but I'm making an assumption that she will not be coming. This is an Emily bag. She made this one for me. Can you tell? I love it. I love it. And this is His Eyes on the Sparrow. And when I purchased this one, I was with Lorraine of Rags to Stitches USA, and we both bought them together. And we're going to work on them together. And she is working on hers, and I am not working on mine. This is 36 count doubloon. There's my tiny little start. Now you know why I have a love-hate relationship with Mania. Whip Mania is where it's at. This is another Pumpkin Hollow Quilts bag. Olivia made this one. I love the theme, Americana, love it. And this is Adam and Eve. It's Jenny Bean for the Parlor. This is the other piece of Teresa's, and I only have 4 of the peak patterns, so I think there's, what, 8 in total, and maybe more. I need to get the rest of them, but I made a small start and mania of this one. So this is that other half of yard that I bought for And They Sinned. And this is it here. This is such a beautiful bag. I want you to see it again. It's so pretty. And this is another of Olivia's bags. Excuse me. Oh, this is A Token of Friendship. This is With Thy Needle by Ellen Chester, our own Ellen. And there was a stitch along going with this last year, and That was around the time I was staying with my dad. And things just come up and I couldn't follow through with it. I think I made a small start. I did. I outlined my boxes. Can you see that? Yep. Yeah. I outlined my boxes and I made a small start. And then I think someone dropped out of my group. Yeah, someone dropped out of my group. And then there was one other that was contemplating dropping out of the group. And you know, everybody has their own reasons. And then I was struggling already, and if I was mainly going to be stitching it on my own, anyway, I was just going to stitch it on my own. So I dropped out of that group, unfortunately. This is Christ in Gethsemane. I started this a long time ago, and I really love it. And I'd forgotten, you know, the last time I did a whip parade, I had pulled it out, and I was thinking I had lost the pattern, and I hadn't. And I pulled it out, I opened it up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really need to finish that. Look at this. Look how beautiful. I've gotten a lot more done on it than I thought I had. And like I said, I found the pattern because I thought it wasn't in here the last time I had looked. And I'm going to put that in a finished soon pot too. It's such a beautiful piece. And I remember my grandmother didn't have Jesus in Gethsemane, but the old photo of Jesus at the door. You know the one I'm talking about? She had that in her living room. Okay, I'm going to pull a couple more over. And I've changed the way I do my threads now. And I don't know that I won't go back, but I used to put them in floss boxes because I bobbinated everything. So all of my threads were like this for pattern. And then I got to where I couldn't get these smaller ones, and I would stitch on one or two things at the time, and they would all be in one floss box, and I quit with that. So last year I started using the floss rings, and I like them, but I still have 12 boxes of threads. You know, they're partial or remaining bobbins from projects that I have, and at this point in the game, why do I need to be switching the way I do things? But I have been. Okay, this one is... This was a stitch along with Dina Half Stitch Cross Stitch. This was Nantucket Rose. I think Dina did finish hers. And this was my start on it. Oops, I don't want to lose that needle. That one's going to be a beautiful piece too. And then this one, this is another Lori bag. And this is, oh, this is a stitch along that I started with Emily of Eclectic Possessions. This is Needles and Pins. And it's one I do want to put to the side. I can't remember how far along I was. I was a decent amount. I need to pull this one out. And this is by Catherine Theron as well. So I'm going to put this in my let's work on that this year pile. And my threads again are on bobbins, and they're in the small cases here. Alright, what is this one? This is another Lori bag. This is Carriage House Samplings, The Shores of Hawthorne Hollow. Excuse me. There's a group of ladies that get together in Georgia and stitch on this, and I joined the group and then realized, once a month it was going to be a drive, and I would just visit with them every now and then I just haven't been back. Not because I don't like the group, or not necessarily because of the drive, but things just always seem to come up. But this was my start on the first block. And this is just one of those big pieces. I love big pieces, but the big pieces take a long time. And so I've got all these beautiful things. And so little of them stitched. Okay. That one's out of the way, that one's out of the way. And then I had, this is another Lori bag. All right, this one definitely has to go in the pile. This is one I started last year. This is Susan Rambo. I do really love this piece. Lisa Kindred Stitcher, I believe, is wanting to do a stitch along at some point this year and had messaged me or let me know that I need to join in, and this is where I am with mine. Clint bought this for me, and he bought 28 count fabric, which is okay. She is going to be enormous because it's 28. I normally stitch on 40, but those flowers are everything. Now last year when I attended the Sampler Guild of Georgia Helen Retreat, there was a lady there that was stitching it too while I was stitching on it, and she was stitching it on 40. And there is a huge difference. It seems to be more vibrant because the threads are more dense. It's beautiful, but this one is special because, look at it. Now he's given me gift certificates and things before, but he's not stitched, bought one for me before. I'm almost running out of time, so let's do it quick. This one, I think, is just a book. Yeah, this is just a book. It's a canvas piece, and I bought this book at a thrift shop. And I love Egyptian history, and I wanted to stitch the Scarab, I believe. Let me see if I can find it. Show you real quick. There is Tut's mask. There it is. I wanted to stitch this, but using metallic threads because this book was from the 70s, I do believe. And I wanted to jewel that Scarab up a little bit. But I bought the canvas and specialty threads to stitch on that. And I've not started it, and that's what's in this bag. And this bag was made for me by Natasha Stitcherella. And it'll fit that frame because this is a canvas piece. It'll fit the canvas frame perfectly. And then this is another Mona bag, my friend Mona. And this is one I started with Michelle the Striped Rose and Lisa Kindred Stitcher. This is Elizabeth JM Mears, 1833, and this is by Queenstown Samplers. Wow. And this is the piece I was actually working on when I got the call, when my dad was diagnosed with cancer. I was working on this piece and put the needle down to pick up the phone when I got the call that he had cancer. And I haven't picked it up since. But I want to pick it up. Look at that. Love it. Love it. And then there's one more. The last one I'm going to show you, I bought New Jersey. These bags were for sale at the shop there in New Jersey, at the New Jersey Retreat. And this one has a pocket inside. This houses another Queenstown sampler, Maria Januaria. And I made a very small start while I was there. Another huge sampler, not as small as I thought, but this was my start. I stitched on that sitting right beside Allie's stitching studio. And that's it. So tomorrow, if I come back, I'll come back and show you some of my sampler pattern collection, and I've got my cards ready to go out today. I just need to seal them up. And until next time, everyone be safe, be healthy, and don't forget to smile. Take care. Bye-bye.